All right, we're back for that overview video. It's the Lanzar Vibe 2102N, 6,000 watts. Okay, got my special assistant with me today, Skylar, my son. Skylar's heavily into car audio. He's got a really cool Tahoe build that we did that's awesome. It's got all the electrical upgrades and all the good stuff. And I've talked about doing a video of that before, and we still haven't done it yet. We'll do one of those. But anyhow, Skylar's helping me today because this thing's so big, and we're going to compare it to a Salt 4 here in a minute as well. Stay tuned. Yeah, this is just an old school Class AB 2-channel amp. It is bridgeable. It even looks like an old school amp with the color of it and stuff. You know, it reminds me of some of the stuff that I would see back in the day. I never had anything like this back in the day, but I would see some occasionally. But Skylar, let's look at the ends, show them the features and the terminals and all. We do have the bottom plate off of this. We're going to show you the gut shot here in a minute. All right, so let me get you close. All right, so we do have RCAs in and out. That's always nice. The level, which is the gain, bass boost, on or off, low pass. Here's the mode. You can go low pass, high pass, full range. This is a full range amp. It's got a high pass. You can always use the high pass as a subsonic when it's set up like this, and you could just do subwoofer only and have a nice bandpass range for that. There's the remote. This does have a bass knob. That's the one modern feature that this has a power light and a protect light, no clip light. Skylar, let's show them the other end of it. This thing has some unique terminals that would probably give most folks some issues with hooking up. So we have the ground and the remote and the power. These are huge. Like usually on amps that have fork terminals, they're usually a little bit longer for the ground and the 12 volt. I mean, I said longer, wider for these two. This one is even bigger than normal. And in fact, I happen to have, we got a little lucky on this, some of these things. So this is a 4 gauge, and then look how thick that is. And this happens to fit in here. So that's what we used. So I had to have the amp elevated in the dyno videos. That's why it was sitting on top of the box. See how that won't fit in there, but it will fit here. So we was giving this amp some really good power. We was feeding it with about a 1 foot piece of 4 gauge that was supplied by 0 gauge. So right here with the fusing, you got 3 40 amp fuses. I want to talk about that for a second. On most amps, this is a good indicator by how much power you can expect the amp to do. So that's 120 amps of fusing. A good rule of thumb is times 10. So 120 times 10 is 1200. You'd automatically know, hey, that's probably around a 1200 watt amp. My experience is that on the dyno, they do less than times 10. The Hyphonic Zeus ZG1200 that I like so much, that is an amp. It might be one of the only amps that did more than times 10. It had a 60 amp fuse in it, and it did more than 600 watts. Most of the time they do less than times 10. Over here you have the 2 channels, left and right. If you want to bridge it, you go left positive, right negative. That's pretty typical. You got to be careful when you're bridging an amp, because occasionally it'll be backwards. It'll be left negative, right positive, or whatever. But usually it's this way. Okay, Skylar, set that down and get the box. Let's show them the ratings on the box. So the ratings are a little bit confusing on this amp because it gives us some max ratings, and then it also gives us a couple of RMS ratings. But right there, 2 by 1500 at 4 ohms, 2 by 3000 max at 4 ohms, 1 by 6000, that's a max rating, 4 ohms bridged, and then you have 2 by 24 at 2 ohms RMS. So these two runs right here should be the same, but this is a RMS rating, and this is a, I'm sorry, the one on the bottom is a RMS rating, and that's a max rating. So really, if you're talking RMS, this should be 2 by 2400 would be the same as 1 by 4800. So you could look at this and say it's rated 1 by 4800, but because it's max, they're saying it's a 6K. And over on this side of the box, it does say 600 watts maximum power, where on the amp it doesn't say maximum power, it just says 6000 watts. Let's open it up. It only comes with a couple of things. So there's the bottom plate. I'll show you the guts in a minute, but it's got the cable. You got some screws. Here's the bass knob. It is metal, a little small metal bass knob. No lights on it at all. It's got a smooth potentiometer. It says Lanzar Vibe, subwoofer level control. It does have paperwork, owner's manual. The ratings and stuff are the same in the manual as what I just showed you on the box. But anyhow, all right, Skylar, we'll let you take the box away. All right, I want to show you here in a second what this amp looks like size-wise, physically, to a Salt 4. Skylar owns a Salt 4. Skylar, if you want to grab that, we're going to show you what this thing looks like next to a Salt 4. Y'all know a Salt 4 is a beast of an amp. Look at this. This Lanzar is longer than the Salt 4. It's also wider. We've compared it off camera. It's wider this way than the Salt 4 also. Now the Salt does stick up a little bit higher. Not a lot, but just a little bit higher. But the fact that that thing is bigger than a Salt 4 is a little crazy. But that's why I wanted to get this amp and test it, is because the size of it is just so physically large. All right, let's show them the gut shot of both. We actually have a surprise for you. We took the back plate off of the Salt 4 as well. So here we go. All right. So, I mean, there's a lot of empty real estate right there, and these components are not very big. These are not large components. The transformers, the capacitors, nothing in there is too beefy, and they got all this stuff spread out really far. So I don't know, it is a Class AB. You usually don't see huge components in a Class AB, but still, for an amp that big, you would think that you'd see a little more. So that also tells us, does that thing really do 6,000 watts? Now let's compare that. Let's see what the guts of a Salt 4 looks like. Now this is a Class D monoblock, but whoa. All right, now we're talking. Big difference there, guys. Major difference. That Salt 4 is loaded up. I mean, there's not hardly any extra room in there. Everything is big and beefy, and this is a 4K that's really like a 6K on the dyno. Really good amp for sure, but there's the difference. All right, trying to think if there's anything that I'm missing. But make sure you check out my other videos. We did 2 dyno videos and 1 on a little 8-inch subwoofer. If you watch them all, you'll definitely get a good idea of what this amp does as a whole. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.